All right, we're at the top of the hour. Let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SonarQube 9.9 LTS webinar. Thank you for joining us. We are so glad you're here with us today. I'm Kirti Joshi, and I'm the moderator and co-presenter for today's webinar. And so before we go over more introductions and deep dive, I'd like to take a minute to go over some housekeeping items. So this is a 1-hour session, including Q&A. Throughout the presentation, you can submit your questions in the Q&A box in Zoom, not the chat box, but the Q&A box. And today we have with us our wonderful panelists, Anne from the community management team, and Megan from our support engineering team, who will answer your questions throughout as they come in. Some they will reserve for us presenters to answer towards the end of the webinar. Also, if you don't get to all the questions today, don't worry. We're going to consolidate all of them, and we'll do a community post around that. In a few days after this presentation, we're going to send you an email with the recording so that you can expect that. The other thing is that from today's live attendees, we're going to pick one lucky winner to win this cool Lego Batmobile tumbler. So that is really exciting. If we're going to do this from the live attendees today, so make sure that you stay throughout the webinar, and then we're going to announce the winner over email. After the webinar, we're going to present to you a short survey. Do tell us what you liked and what other topics we should cover in future sessions. So let's go over some introductions today. I have with me my colleague Jeff from the sales engineering team. Jeff.
Hi, thanks Kirti. As she said, my name is Jeff Zapotoczny. I'm the head of sales engineering here at SonarSource. And I have a long background in application development, consulting, and DevOps, as well as agile process coaching.
Very cool. And I'm Kirti Joshi. I lead the product marketing team here at SonarSource. I've been with the company for almost 2 years now. And I've been in the developer tool space for the last many years, working on front-end, JavaScript, TypeScript type of projects, as well as Python machine learning developer tools. So this is how today's webinar is going to get shaped up. We're going to go over this little acronym LTS, tell you the philosophy behind that, and then why you should consider, updating to this LTS. And then we're going to jump in, talk about the features, show you demos as we go along. This is why we're all gathered here. And then throughout this presentation, in a few points, you're going to hear some words from our customers who have either used our features in this LTS or are really looking forward to it. And then we'll round it up with some live Q&A.
All right, I'll take this one. So in terms of what the phrase and the concept of long-term support means to us, here at Sonar with SonarQube, we are actively maintaining at any particular moment in time 2 different versions of the product. There's the LTS, the long-term support release, as well as the latest release. The latest release is the easier one to explain. Those are the minor point releases of SonarQube that you see us drop about every 2 months. So, we most recently had 9.8, before that 9.7, now we're on 9.9. Whereas the LTS is a release that we designate as something that we intend to maintain and provide backports for any critical bug fixes, patches for any important vulnerabilities, and we commit to maintaining that for around 18 months of time until we anoint a new upcoming release as the next LTS. So what it means is if you're looking for to always enjoy the latest and greatest features, you want to jump on everything that we do as soon as it comes out, the latest release track remains your best choice and your go-to, as long as you can commit to then following those upgrades every 2 months, because no individual point release along the way until it's designated as an LTS is necessarily going to get support in the form of maintenance and backports, as well as security patches. We're at that wonderful moment in time where we've just anointed a new LTS. So at this point in time, the 9.9 SonarQube release is both the latest release as well as the LTS, which makes it an absolute must-have. Kirti, back to you.
Yes, wonderful. So what is in this LTS? So basically, this LTS is centered around three big pillars of speed, security, and scale. So if you look at speed of analysis overall as one of our first big pillars, everybody wants higher performance. We all yearn for faster analysis, and that's what we expect from SonarQube. And so we've taken many strides in improving our speed of analysis, especially faster pull requests and branch analysis, the first analysis for your branches if you're doing Git-based development. And so with this, you as developers are going to be more productive. Your PRs are going to, of course, come in faster. Your analysis is going to happen faster. And overall, this is going to improve the the life cycle of your software development flow. It's going to be much more efficient. So on the security front, we've invested in our detection engine for improved precision, for improved accuracy, improved coverage of not only bugs, but vulnerabilities as well. And particularly, we've added support for in-depth analysis of your cloud configuration files. So if you're building cloud-native applications using your preferred technology, using your preferred cloud providers, you can now build and deploy those securely. And then the third big bucket is scale. So as your organization is scaling, as it's growing, there is a need for stronger access management, internal and external governance and compliance, of course, better reporting, and overall an organizational awareness. And so we've added plenty of functionality for managers, for DevOps leaders, for admins to really help you with that. So let's talk a little bit about speed of analysis. So we've made two big improvements. We focused on two main things in this category. First is faster pull request analysis. And then the second thing is faster first analysis on your branches for Git-based projects. So in 8.9 for pull requests, we were analyzing all the files in your project, even if you changed a few of them. And so in 9.9, particularly, we've made analysis more efficient. And of course, this is for all the programming languages that we support. So what we've done here is that we've implemented incremental analysis and server-side caching. So what that means is that only files that you change as part of your pull requests are analyzed. And of course, all of this is happening without any deterioration or any degradation in precision of the analysis. And so you'll see that this difference is quite noticeable. In the next slide, I'm going to show you some benchmark numbers on some projects, so which might be very interesting for you. So in this slide, if you see on the x-axis, there's a benchmark project. We used 3 projects of different sizes and actually written in different languages for benchmarking. And on the y-axis is the time. This is the time for your pull request analysis. And so you'll see here, for example, on the left side, Nuxio, which is open source content management system written in Java, with about 400K lines of code. The PR analysis in 8.9 that used to take about 5.5 minutes now takes about 1.5 minutes. Similarly, if you look on the right-hand side, we all know about the popular WordPress project written in PHP with about 250K lines of code. What used to take 3.5 minutes in 8.9. Now that PR analysis will be completed in 1.5 minutes or slightly under that. So the point here to note is that for larger projects with this PR analysis, you're going to see a much more prominent speed up. And because we as developers push so many PRs per week, you're going to see this change to be a significant improvement for everyone. The other thing that we added that I want to go over is if you're doing Git-based development, what you'll notice is that your first analysis on your branches is going to be much faster than before. So we've made some changes in the way that we handle the initial blame data when we are doing our analysis. So you'll notice some significant improvements. To just give you a proof point, if you look at this Odoo project, it's a web-based open source business application project written in Python. Is about 80% faster first analysis with SonarQube LTS. So what used to take about 50 minutes or so on 8.9, that analysis will be completed in 10 minutes. The one thing to note here is that I'm talking about the first analysis on your branches. We all know that subsequent analysis, so your second, third, and other analysis of your projects has always been fast, and that will continue to be fast. Where we have done the improvement is the first analysis if you're using Git-based source code management. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the language rules. So we've added many rules in this LTS to help you not only find, but fix issues for the language that you program in. And of course, throughout this time, we've kept up with the different language standards and versions. And here I want to give you just a glimpse and highlight a few key languages and the improvements and additions that we've made. So let's take a look at Python. We've added new rules for regular expressions so that you can write efficient and error-free regexes. Now we have about 21 total rules for you to do that. We've added rules for test. We've also added rules for path-sensitive bug detection. And now we support the version of Python from 2.7 to 3.11. The next thing is that if you're a JavaScript, TypeScript front-end developer, we've added test rules for Mocha and Chai. And new rules, if you use React framework as your framework of choice for development, we have new rules for that as well. For C and C++, the team has done a lot of work. We now support C++20. We have rules to test the C++20 coroutines. We've also improved the precision of all path-sensitive issues for both the languages that also include memory bugs. And in addition to that, we've added functionality so that the configuration of your C++ analysis can be now done via a compilation database. Additionally, if you are using CLion or VS Code as your IDE, SonarLint has support for both of them. Some more news for C# users. If you're using that programming language, we now support C# 11 parsing. And if you're on the older version, C# 10 or C# 9, we have rules for pattern matching and lambdas. We have rules for deadlock detection. And so plenty of stuff there for C# users as well. Let's move on to PHP. If you're using PHP, we have rules that will make WordPress plugins safer. And of course, we have also regular expression rules to make sure that you are able to catch those hard to find, tricky regular expression in your code. For Java, we've added rules to prevent runtime errors. We have rules to find hard-coded secrets and passwords. And this LTS supports Java 19 standard as well. For Kotlin, we've added rules for common coroutine pitfalls, regular expression rules, and more Android rules as well. So overall, we've added a variety of Android rules and taint analysis rules for Java, so that if you're developing Android applications, you can be rest assured that your applications are secure by design. and they are compliant before you submit them to the Google Play Store. All right, so let's talk a little bit about integrations. If you recall, in 8.9 LTS, the last LTS, we added deep support for the major DevOps platforms. So this means GitHub and all of its flavors, github.com, GitHub Enterprise, Azure DevOps Server and Services, GitLab, that includes GitLab Self-Hosted, Bitbucket, and Bitbucket Cloud. And so in 9.9, we have deepened our support for Bitbucket Cloud and GitHub, and I'll go over some of those in the next couple of slides. But for those who use these DevOps platforms, you can see some more interesting features. The other thing is that if you're doing mobile development and you're using CodeMagic CI/CD as your CI/CD of choice, then we not only support that, but we provide simplified analysis with more automation. So what this really means is that you can enjoy automatic detection of the branches as well as your PR analysis. So let's talk a little bit about GitHub integrations overall. So we've kept up with the innovations in the GitHub platform. You can use GitHub Actions to trigger SonarQube analysis. And in addition to that, SonarQube has already been displaying, quality gate status for GitHub pull request. What we've done now in 9.9 is that for every commit that you do on your branches, you can actually see whether the quality gate passed or not, right inside your DevOps platform. The other thing that we've also enhanced on and improved and added is aggregating the security findings from SonarQube. So if you are analyzing your open source projects with GitHub, or you're using GitHub Enterprise Premium version, you will find your security tab here in your DevOps platform. And now you can aggregate the security findings from SonarQube inside this tab, in addition to the other places or other tools that you're using for your analysis. So it'll all be in one easy place for you to review. The next thing for Bitbucket Cloud, we've added full support for Bitbucket Cloud that includes project onboarding with the analysis wizard. And what that means really is that using this project onboarding experience, you can create, you can configure, and you can actually analyze your project with SonarQube in a much, much simplified way. So this wizard in SonarQube is going to guide you to import your projects from Bitbucket Cloud. And then you can use them, you can analyze them rather with your preferred CI tool, here Jenkins or any other tool that you use, and you can also decorate your PRs. Just like GitHub, we've added official Bitbucket pipes for you to trigger SonarQube analysis. And we've also added the same kind of quality checks that you can do for each of your commits in the DevOps platform itself for all of your branches. Last but not least, we've made logging into SonarQube much more flexible. Now you can use your DevOps credentials to log in. And so we've added Bitbucket to that list as well. You can use Bitbucket credentials to easily connect to SonarQube. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Jeff, and he's going to tell you many more other new features. Jeff, over to you.
All right. Thanks very much, Kirti. So in terms of securing development, we've made a number of improvements, starting with specific support for the dominant cloud providers in the form of rules, as I'll break down shortly. We've also added support and a dedicated analyzer to the idea of infrastructure as code. So when IAC files are included as part of your overall project, they can get analyzed now right along with your source code. And we've also made significant improvements in the education that we're offering to developers so that they understand what to fix when a security finding is presented to them. Now, before we dive into the details on that, we actually have a few words that we'd like to hear from our customer, Wojtek Varga at Siemens AG. So take it away, Wojtek.
So my name is Wojtek Varga. I'm working for Siemens AG, and currently I am the service manager for code quality platform, which runs on SonarQube application. We are excited about a couple of features. One is support of Terraform scans. We have a couple of instances where people are starting to use a Terra scan. And as we are also excited about the improvements in the C++ world. And from administrative point of view, we do really like some features which will help us to communicate with our customers directly over the SonarQube UI page.
Nice. So to break this down across what we see as the three major cloud providers, which includes, of course, AWS, Google Cloud, as well as Azure, we've added a specific layer of support, first of all, for the Terraform technology, which many of you are using to express your infrastructure as code demands. So if you're using Terraform to get your applications deployed, we can scan those files now and check them for things like, in the case of Amazon, proper use of S3 buckets, proper use of encryption, both at rest and in transit, as well as appropriate use of permissions and other security details, as well as secrets detection across each of these cloud platforms. Specific to Amazon, we've also done the equivalent for CloudFormation. So if you favor this Amazon-specific configuration, you're welcome to use it, and you'll get a nice equivalent analytical capability there as well. If you happen to choose to use the Amazon CDK, and you're expressing directly within, for example, JavaScript or Python code, some of your infrastructure demands, those will be scanned just as well, as will use of AWS Lambda. So if you're writing Lambda expressions as functions that can be executed in the AWS cloud, we'll make sure and check that code for proper patterns within that Lambda paradigm. We've also added some cross-cutting analysis features for a lot of the kind of common scenarios that are going to come along with applications on their way to deployment. So if you're using Docker files to assemble your application together, we're scanning those now too. Kubernetes configuration files. And we've also made great strides in the space of secret detection. It actually starts for us with SonarLint. So we've got some specific secret detection rules and capabilities in SonarLint to hopefully stop you as developers from committing a secret into your code repo before you even do it. So if we can prevent that, so much the better. The world is more secure. If, however, we acknowledge people will always make mistakes, and you may have made mistakes in the past that you weren't aware of. So we've also rolled out these secret detection rules into SonarQube so that when your CI/CD pipelines run and we check out the code in your branches, you'll still get an alert and a security issue raised if you've inadvertently leaked a secret into your repo. So next, let's give a brief demo and talk through some of these options and how you can see them in your SonarQube release. So as a reminder, when you take a look at your SonarQube instance, the top level rules tab will always show you everything that's available for enforcement at project analysis time across all of the languages that your particular instance, your edition, as well as your version supports. So if we're looking at this now for 9.9, you can see there's a lot of additional first-class language file types here that we can support. So of course, you're going to see Terraform and CloudFormation represented here, as I mentioned. We've got support for Docker, for Kubernetes, as well as some cross-cutting secret checks that are actually applied, kind of regardless of the individual file types that are that might be involved. You also have the ability here to filter to see what we've done specific for your individual cloud provider of choice. So because of the way that we tag our rules, you can search for AWS, you can search for GCP, for Google Cloud, and of course you can type Azure, and you'll be able to see what are those specific rules that we've added and for which languages. Now, when it comes to seeing your results as part of a project, when a project involves some cloud native or infrastructure as code component, there's not going to be a change in the project dashboard. There's not a special call out for these types of issues. They're going to just filter right into the existing security rating, the existing maintainability rating in the form of vulnerabilities, in the form of code smells. You will see them, however, when you're filtering for your issues. You'll see, things like your usage of CloudFormation. You can filter for it and take a look at those specific findings and, of course, go about remedying them. Another area of significant improvement, as I alluded to earlier, is in the developer experience and in terms of the guidance and education that we're offering for developers within the product. We got this started, I like to think, years back with what we did with security hotspots. When we invented the idea of hotspots, we had these tabs that kind of guide you as a reviewer through understanding the hotspot and how to conduct the review. Now we've rolled out something very similar and even more powerful for our taint analysis rules. So when we find something like a SQL injection or a path injection attack, we're going to highlight that issue and break the documentation down so that you can understand where is it, why is it an issue, and then when it comes to how can you fix it, we've kind of gone the extra mile and added a component of framework detection. So like in this particular screenshot that you can see from SonarQube, it's obviously a Java finding, and we've detected the specific framework involved and provided guidance specific to that framework. We've also rolled these improvements out to SonarLint, as you can see in the screenshot on the left, where when a vulnerability is raised, SonarLint will know, thanks to connected mode with SonarQube, when one of these taint vulnerabilities manifests in the file that you have open for edit. When you take a look at the documentation, you'll also see this enhanced presentation there as well. The next major topic that I'd like to cover is the new features and enhancements that we've made specifically for enterprises. And it breaks down into two major areas. First of all, we've got reporting, the kind of improvements that would be of concern to leaders, managers, executives, as well as auditors, as well as then some improvements to the experience for SonarQube admins to make life a little bit easier, to make it easier to communicate with your user community and keep your platform secure. Before we dive into the details on those, we've got another message from one of our customers. In this case, it's Stefan with the Vodafone Group.
So my name is Stefan Euripidu, and I'm a solution architect in Vodafone. In terms of success, I would say we've seen a lot of reduction in technical debt, shadow IT as well. We've seen improvements of code quality. We've enabled teams to start thinking about, what is the standard that they need to try and get their code quality to meet. The feature in the 9.x series that we find most impactful is the token lifecycle management feature. It allows us to ensure that the integrations we create from SonarQube to other services are meeting Vodafone security policies in terms of token lifecycle management, how long those tokens live for, how often they are refreshed, and what scope they're made available for use for.
All right. So to break down the enterprise reporting improvements that I mentioned earlier, it starts with a new dimension of reporting that we've added to our project and portfolio level security tabs, where you can see reporting against compliance standards. So we've got dedicated tabs highlighting the PCI DSS, as well as the OWASP ASVS compliance standard. So you can refine the version of the standard or the level of detail that you're looking for and see where the issues in your project stack up against those particular standards. We've also continued our journey with risk reporting. So we've added support for the last few years of CWE Top 25, replacing the outgoing SANs, as well as updates so that you can get reporting against the OWASP Top 10 from 2021. At the project level, we've introduced the ability to get reports, both a nice high-level PDF summary of the status of the project that you can generate and download on the fly as a PDF from the UI, as well as subscribe to. There's also a regulatory report that bundles that project overview with a specific export of the quality profile and quality gate settings that were in effect for the project at the time the report was generated, as well as a detailed export of the findings in new and overall code that are affecting the project for that particular branch. We also haven't stopped refining what we do for enterprise portfolios. So this time, what you're going to see that's new is within the portfolio, we used to just focus on the status of your overall code. And now we actually differentiate in line with our clean as you code philosophy between the new code within the projects that make up that portfolio and the overall code. So you can see separate ratings for each one of those. We've also rolled in support for branches of the projects within a portfolio. So if you find it useful to see portfolio reporting where a specific branch is chosen for each project that participates in that report, you're welcome to do that and get that refined level of reporting. So let's take a look at this in action. So as we pop on over to a SonarQube instance, first of all, within a project dashboard, if we pop on over to the security reports, you can see represented by the extra tabs here, some of those new reporting capabilities that I was talking about. So starting with the PCI DSS, you can see some of the findings within your project mapped to different versions of that PCI DSS standard. With OWASP ASVS, you're able to see, again, your findings mapped to the standard, and you can even do some refinement as far as the level of the standard that you're interested in. It doesn't stop there. We've got updates for the more recent OWASP Top 10 from 2021, as well as the last several years of CWE Top 25 reporting. Keep in mind, any of these security reports can be downloaded as a PDF from here, as can an overview of the whole project. So the project PDF report download is going to be right here. You can generate it on the fly, as well as establish a subscription so that you can get this delivered in your inbox at a recurring interval, which is actually configurable. In terms of that project regulatory report, you'll find that under the project information drawer that pops out when you click on this link. Simply scroll down to regulatory report. And when you click on it, you'll actually get a nice description of what's going to be available in the report. It's going to consist of that overview, summarizing the status of your new and overall code, as well as then those specific additional details like how the project was configured at the time of analysis, as well as lists of findings for new and overall code. And you can even select which branch of the project you're interested in downloading that for. When it comes to portfolios, you'll see here, if I take a look at a portfolio, they're a lot more colorful now. And there's some extra dimensions in terms of this differentiation between new and overall code for each of those main ratings. To continue with the overview of enterprise features, let's also talk about what we've done to make life nicer for admins. A long-term, long-lived popular request that we've gotten from users has been to be able to provide messages out to their user community, whether it's on the login screen, as you can see here, or even after logging into your SonarQube instance to get some kind of banner across the top. So you can imagine any number of ways and reasons to leverage these, whether you want to notify of upcoming maintenance intervals, important organizational announcements, whatever you see fit. These are going to be configurable for you as an admin. We see here, if we go under our individual user account and we go to the security tab, the token management feature that Stefan was really excited about in the earlier video. You can see both for any tokens that you've already created in the past, you've got the ability to manage and revoke them from here if you wish, as well as create new tokens, whether that's user tokens that are appropriate for use with SonarLint or perhaps your usages of our web API. Global analysis tokens that can be used to facilitate analysis by maybe automated pipelines across a wide variety of projects, as well as individual project analysis tokens that likely result from interactions with our individual project onboarding wizards. Regardless of the type of token that you create, you can also, at the time of creation, specify how long that token should live for. So this should really give you a nice new dimension of being able to manage the credentials that are being used, as well as how long they're valid out there in the wild. Moving on, another pain point that we saw, one of the most important integrations that you can set up in your SonarQube instance is the integration with your DevOps platform, so that you can get your pull requests, you can get your merge requests decorated. And we know setting up these integrations, it can be quite nerve-wracking to create the configuration and then have to conduct an analysis from a pipeline and do a bunch of troubleshooting between the DevOps platform, the pipeline, and SonarQube to figure out if it doesn't work, what went wrong. So we've added a layer of validation here to let you know, is your configuration okay? Immediately as you create it, we'll check it and validate it for you. You can also always come back in here after the fact and confirm for any one of these platforms configs, is it actually okay? And finally, when it comes to managing quality gates, if you've got customized quality gates above and beyond the default Sonar way, you're able to, in the quality gate management screen, actually delegate permissions now in a way, and that's analogous to what we've been able to do in the past with quality profiles. So if you as a SonarQube admin, you've got the responsibility for what's here, but you may not necessarily be the person that wants to govern the exact content. If you want to delegate that to someone else, you can simply grant that permission now to an individual user or even to a group. So to summarize, there's a number of things that you saw from those configurable messages that you can go out to your users, the improvements in terms of user tokens and expirations, that validation for your DevOps platform configs, and delegation of quality gate administration. There are also some additional exciting features that didn't make it into the demo. So starting in Enterprise Edition, so for EE and Data Center Edition users, you will get audit logging that will allow you to download and inspect a log of any administrative configuration changes that have been made within your instance. You'll see who did it, when did they do it, what did they change. We've made improvements to the management of personal identifying information for users to make that more secure. We've also beefed up our SAML authentication, adding SAML assertion encryption to make that a more secure single sign-on experience for everybody. And last but not least, as of the previous LTS, SonarQube 8.9, we had Kubernetes support, but for the Data Center Edition, that support was still in a beta status. We're proud to announce that that has been production ready for quite some time, and that's now rolled into the 9.9 LTS as well. The final topic that I'd like to talk about is some changes that we've made to create a smoother developer experience overall. So we know developers spend most of the time in their IDEs. So of course, these changes focus primarily on SonarLint and the connected mode that we create to have SonarLint interoperate with your SonarQube instance. With connected mode set up, you'll now enjoy automatic synchronization of quality profile changes out to your IDE. So this should happen at a recurring interval in the background, as well as any time that you reopen your project. Any rules that have been activated or deactivated on the SonarQube side, those changes will be reflected in the IDE as well. For many rules, we've added support for SonarLint quick fixes. So if you've ever taken a look at your findings in SonarLint and you've said, wow, this is great, it's really useful, but I wish SonarLint would go the extra mile and just fix the problem for me, now it can. We've also made SonarLint branch aware. So if on particular branches of your project, you've gone through the effort of marking individual findings as won't fix, false positive, you can actually eliminate that noise from the IDE now as well. SonarLint will be branch aware. And if you're working on one of the branches where you've done that with dispensing of your issues, it will be synchronized. And then finally, we've made connected mode setup itself easier. For one thing, in VS Code, it's now visual instead of hand editing JSON properties. And when you create a connected mode configuration for the first time, you'll get some guidance in the space of creating a token that's appropriate for use in managing the connection, as well as some assistance getting your project bindings set up. So let's have a look at that. For this, I'm going to use an instance here. This is VS Code, and I have a JavaScript project opens up. First of all, when it comes to those quick fixes that I mentioned, what you'll see now is if you simply mouse into an area where SonarLint has a finding, you'll see in this particular case, I'm making direct use of the not a number symbol as part of a comparison. SonarLint is happy to suggest a quick fix for this. So we can actually, within that finding, choose to use the appropriate language function to make that comparison instead. So nice and easy, and now all fixed. You'll also notice within the IDE that SonarLint now has presence on the navigation pane. When we click on it in VS Code, there's a really nice little dedicated section of the pane that pops up for managing connected mode. You're able to view your existing connections and manage them from here, as well as create new connections. All you need to know is the URL for your SonarQube instance, and from there you'll get guidance to generate a token if you don't already have one, give the connection a name, and off you go. And now I'd like to pass it back to Kirti to continue our conversation with talking about changes that we've made in the space of clean as you code.
All right. So I want to take a moment here to highlight the Sonar Clean as you code approach. It is the fundamental approach for not only a clean delivery of your code, but also for your organizations to progressively reach that state of clean code. And so this approach is really, really simple. We've been advocating this philosophy, this approach from the beginning of Sonar, really. And really, it's about, two simple steps. So if you're not aware of those, the first one is that you only focus on the code that you're adding or changing. And you make sure that it follows, a few simple conditions that are probably listed here too, that no new bugs are introduced, no new vulnerabilities are introduced, all of your security hotspots are reviewed, and there is limited technical debt as well. And then the second condition is that you don't push this code to production unless your quality gate passes, unless your quality gate is green. And the way that it helps is that as time passes by and you are going to continue to make updates to your old code to add in new features, new functionality, fix issues, the quality of your code base is going to progressively improve. So that's mainly about clean as you code. If you're already practicing clean as you code with these robust quality gates, I'm certain this has really helped you because you as developers don't have to deal with all the code. You're only going to focus on doing a good job with the new code that you're writing. And over time that you have seen a reduction in the burden of technical debt for your code base. But particularly for those who aren't really using clean as you code effectively, this approach is simple. It's actually inherent to your use of Sonar. So as long as you're using these compliant quality gates and following these simple conditions, you are using clean as you code. So with all this said, what has really changed in 9.9, right, in this LTS? So I want to point out here that in this 9.9 LTS and actually through subsequent releases, we want everyone to use clean as you code effectively. And so we've added some enhancements in the quality gate user experience so to help everyone actually implement this clean as you code and practice it. So you'll see that for your quality gates that are not compliant with this methodology, we've added this gentle reminder for you. So this reminder that you see in this screenshot, the one in light yellow, it'll remind you to identify that your quality gate is non-compliant, to review that quality gate, and to update it as well. This also means that if you have new conditions or you have conditions that don't meet the quality gate conditions on your new code, we are going to send you a gentle reminder. We're going to prompt you to review those and to address those quality gates as well. All of this is non-disruptive. Really, the whole idea is that we want you to get the maximum of your use of Sonar, and we want you to use clean as you code effectively. So wrapping this up, if there was anything that you took away from this webinar, this LTS is a must-have for everyone. It's based on the 3 pillars of speed, security, and scale. Means faster analysis, faster pull request analysis in particular. Lots of new rules for identifying security issues, and for you to build and deploy a secure cloud-native applications with your preferred cloud provider and their technologies. And scale. So lots of enterprise-grade features that Jeff has showed you for managers, for DevOps leaders, for auditors, for admins, for everyone across the board. So what are your next steps? If you like some of these features, you're excited about them, we recommend that you directly go to this link and download the latest LTS. And if you're on the previous LTS, the 8.9 LTS, and you want to move over to this 9.9 LTS, we also recommend you to refer to the LTS documentation here, LTS to LTS release upgrade notes. The link is right here. And if you've kept up with all of our releases, you are on the 9.x series, you can refer to the regular upgrade notes for a smooth upgrade. And of course, we are here to help. If you need anything, you can open a thread in our community, or you can contact your professional support. That's it from us. We are going to open it up for some live Q&A. We have about like 10-12 minutes for that. Jeff, there are multiple questions, which is really good. Thanks, Anne. Thanks, Megan, for answering them. There are a few that we would like to bring here live. There's a question from Saravan Kumar. He wants to know when are the secrets and text rules, when are they going to be, when do they get triggered with SonarQube?
Okay. I think I may have actually answered that question in line as I was giving the demo when we got to the security and cloud native part, but just in case it wasn't clear. So we're going to be looking to evaluate the secrets rules really starting from SonarLint. So if you're using SonarLint, if you're not using it, please do. It might actually stop you from leaking secrets into your code repo. And we also then will do scanning as part of the regular project analysis. So for any of the text files that are within the scope of your project, if we find that there are secrets lurking within them, we will raise appropriate findings.
Nice. One more question that comes from Kuldeep. He wants to know if we've benchmarked anything about how fast 9.9 is compared to the 9.6 version or previous 9.x version that we are on. Maybe an interesting question if you can.
Yeah, sure. I mean, so our overall approach throughout the 9.x series of SonarQube releases was we knew that we wanted by the end goal of 9.9 for speed of analysis to be a feature. And so as Kirti, as you have provided a nice thorough overview of, there's been significant improvements made along the way. Rather than benchmark, though, against one of those individual prior point releases, we're really sort of focusing on, did we hit the mark in terms of significant speed improvements since going back to the prior LTS release? And so for that reason, when we broke down the detail there, the benchmarking that we've done, that we've been focusing on, is since that last 8.9 LTS.
Nice. One more question from Neil. He wants to know if there's anything that the audience should be aware of as far as plugins are concerned, mostly, either developing them or consuming those plugins.
Okay. So, when it comes to plugins, if you're a long-term SonarQube user, you might know that since around the time of 8.9, we actually eliminated the idea of separately distributing SonarQube as a platform and then our language analyzers as plugins to that platform. And instead, we've just been favoring directly bundling them into each new release as it comes. So it comes with the latest analyzer capabilities, the latest language support, and of course, the latest rules. So, from that standpoint, in terms of, are there any essential or crucial plugins? I'd say from our perspective, no. We really kind of see it as we've already bundled within the product everything that you need in terms of analytical capabilities across all of your favorite languages, as well as things like authentication support and some of the other types of functionality that used to also be distributed as plugins. That said, we do have a plugin version matrix that you can look up within our documentation, as well as the marketplace embedded within the administration tab in your SonarQube instance, where you can go out and look for specific plugins that we're aware of that are known to be compatible or not compatible with specific SonarQube point releases, including this new LTS. And again, just as a disclaimer, simply because a plugin is listed, it doesn't mean that we're necessarily endorsing the functionality. We're simply listing it as whether it's known to be compatible. So I would certainly recommend for anyone out there that's interested in evaluating a particular plugin, please use a test or staging environment to do it first. Use a representative, one of your projects for an analysis, see the results of the plugin, and if you find it valuable, go for it. And when it comes to plugin development, I'm not aware of any super specific changes that we've made as part of this LTS. So as always, my recommendation there would be visit the documentation, where I know we do have specific guidance for plugin authors.
Cool. Jeff, you talked a lot about enterprise features. Ritesh here has a question about features around audit logs specific to administration, so specific to admins. And some examples here are, who added or modified the rules, what are the defaults, configurations. I think that's what you would like to know.
Okay, yeah. And so we definitely did that. I didn't take the time to demonstrate it earlier, but if you take a look at your SonarQube instance, you'll actually find in Enterprise Edition and above a dedicated audit logs tab where you can download logs for a particular time period, pull the log by clicking the download button. And within that, you will actually see a summary across your selected time period for whatever the admin level activity has been. So in terms of people making changes to quality profiles, quality gates, or critical admin settings, it'll be included there. So I invite you to try that feature out as long as you're using Enterprise Edition or up.
Nice, that was very helpful. Similar question, but around tokens. And Shravan Kumar asked, can we default the age of the token rotation?
That is an excellent question for which I do not happen to know the answer. So I believe the question is basically, can you set what the default is for the expiration? I think it's 30 days by default here.
Yeah, I think that's what he's asking. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I do not happen to know. So for that particular question, if it hasn't been answered in the Q&A panel, I would invite you, as we'll remind you, we'll be rounding up the important questions that were asked, as well as a summary of the answers, and posting it on the community as a follow-up to this webinar. So we'll get you the answer there.
Okay, and maybe we can answer another question that he has as well, about the quality gate status on the branch commit. I talked about that, and he wants to know if it's available on GitLab as well.
I'm not aware that we've done anything with GitLab at the individual commit level. That's something that we rolled out specifically for GitHub, to my knowledge. Okay.
Jeff, we get this question a lot, and I think one of the attendees has this as well, but they want to know is if there is any high-level reporting feature to check how the quality of the code has evolved over time. Do we have any capabilities in the product UI itself to notify you, or a report or something that they can check it out and follow over time?
Yeah, we sure do. You've always got, at the project level, for any particular project, you can always go into your activity and see what the trending has been or changes over time. I picked an extremely poor example because this one looks like a flat line, but on a lively project, you'll see this as a very good kind of graph of the data and the changes over time. You'll also see at the portfolio level, so for any portfolio that you'll pick, you'll get some nice trending across any of your metrics, including releasability or any of the other 4 primary metrics. What have those changes looked like over time? You also have the activity graph available as a summary rolled up at that portfolio level if you want to break down what the trending has looked like for any particular measure.
Nice. I think we have time for about probably a couple more questions. There's one about education. So we briefly talked about education. We talked about now SonarQube can analyze the framework contextual to your code, and they want to know if this advanced education is only for certain languages.
Yeah, so because we rolled that feature out for our taint analysis rules, the taint analysis rules really focus on what we see as our flagship languages, where we focused on enhanced security support. So that's going to include Java, PHP, C#, JavaScript, TypeScript, Python, and I think I mentioned the major players. So yeah, wherever you see taint analysis capability in one of those flagship languages, that's where you'll see the beginnings of this enhanced education rolling out.
Nice. And then there's a community edition question here from Joseph. He wants to know if the speed of analysis that we talked about, is that going to be faster on community edition as well?
Okay, so certainly the Git-based speed improvement that we made for the first analysis of your project, where we're simply taking a look at the Git repo itself and collecting information about the historical commits and who did them. That speed improvement is across the board for all SonarQube users, Community Edition and up. Now, some of the other speed improvements that we made involved some fundamental changes to our analyzers. So I think in the space of Java and Python. There are some speed improvements that get leveraged even in the community edition. And then we built on top of that specific optimizations for pull request analysis, which is a commercial feature that starts only in developer edition and above.
Nice. I think we have time for just one last question. So Pradeep wants to know about our licensing model and support, if we can cover that briefly.
Okay. So for any of the SonarQube commercial editions, so that's Developer Edition, Enterprise Edition, Data Center Edition, if you're interested in those, you can go on out to our website at sonarsource.com. There's a nice big button in the upper right-hand corner that says Explore Pricing. From there, you can fill out a very, very brief form to get in contact with our sales and sales operations teams. It'll generate and download a license for you. So you're able from that point on to start an evaluation using a generally 14-day license. If you're happy with what you see, as we expect you would be, then you can also proceed then into a purchasing discussion with your sales rep and make a decision at that point whether you would like to add commercial support or if you're okay relying on the support of our community. So the community.sonarsource.com forum is an excellent avenue for a lot of new customers. However, if you know that you want that enhanced level of commercial support, you're welcome to pay for that. It's a premium on top of the license, which you'll see detailed on our pricing page. And that will start your relationship at the time of your purchase with our commercial support team. You'll get a login to our support portal where you can file tickets to get your questions and your problems addressed and answered.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. I think we've reached the end of our time. Today, there are many other questions here, and sorry if we're not able to get through all of them, but we will do a community post addressing all of them. So thank you very much. Thank you for spending the time, and we'll see you at another webinar.
Thanks, everybody.